Hello and thanks for joining us. This is the What Now. We begin here in South Africa, where South Africa's ex-Speaker of Parliament, Nosiviwe Mopusa Ngakula, has been charged with 12 counts of corruption and 1 count of money laundering. She made her first court appearance after handing over herself to a police station earlier today. The politician is accused of soliciting bribes in return for awarding contracts during her time as defense minister. She denied any wrongdoing in court and said, quote, "I do not have a propensity to commit crime," end quote. But prosecutor Begi Umyati told Pretoria Magistrates Court there was ample evidence against Ms. Mapisa Nkakula. She has been released on bail. After weeks of investigation, Ms. Mapisa Nkakula resigned on Wednesday, but said this wasn't an indication of admission of guilt. She said given the seriousness of the probe, she could not continue her role. The 67-year-old veteran of the anti-apartheid struggle became Speaker in 2021. Before that, she served as Defense Minister for 7 years. And joining me to explore this story further, we're joined by, from Durban, South Africa, by Professor Begi Umgomezulu. He's the Director of Center for the Advancement of Non-Racialism and Democracy at the Nelson Mandela University. Good to have you join us. So let me start by asking you what you make of what she's done, because she's been commended by some people in South Africa for the resignation and for handing herself over to the police. What do you make of what she's done, and then these allegations as well?
No, she has done a sterling job on many fronts. One, she has saved the integrity of Parliament, given the fact that she's one of the highest ranking officials in Parliament. Secondly, she has protected the ANC, and then also she has protected the image of the country, because normally in the African context, we tend not to respect the laws that we have drafted. So in this case, even though she has not been found guilty, she did the right thing by resigning before she could even face the vote of no confidence. So I'm one of the people who has applauded her for the job that she has done with the decision that she has taken. She has saved a lot of people of trouble that they would have found themselves in.
And in her own resignation letter as well, she has said that the reason she was resigning was to protect the sanctity of Parliament. But she became Speaker in 2021, and these allegations have been there since 2020. Some people might say, look, if we wanted to preserve or protect the sanctity of Parliament, she shouldn't have even taken that speakership position in the first place.
Apart from protecting the image of the Parliament and the image of the country and the image of the ANC, she also protected herself. Because if you face impeachment and we are successfully impeached, then it means you also forfeit your benefits. She had already announced that she is not coming back in the 7th administration. So we knew that she was on her way out. So she wouldn't want to lose all her benefits just because of this case. Of course, whether she is found guilty or not is neither here nor there. The reality is that her political image has already been negatively affected by this. So what she did was then correct. The last thing maybe I can say is that there is a concern, because there are speculations that some of her comrades might in fact have pushed her under the bus and pushing her to resign prematurely, which will then be regrettable given the fact that they have protected other people, including the president, when there was an issue against him. They protected him because they do have the numbers. But when it comes to her case, it doesn't look like this has been this is the same thing that has been happening. So then basically that is one thing that would be of concern going forward.
The question I was really asking is that some people might say, look, the right thing for public officials to do is not to take up public office if there are allegations already against them before taking up that office. That the right thing for her to do was not to even become Speaker in the first place.
When she assumed this office of being the member of Parliament, there was nothing against her. Then, of course, when she was Minister of Defense, there was nothing that surfaced, at least at the time. This issue about the so-called bribe only happened recently when she was already a Speaker of the National Assembly. So I wouldn't necessarily expect her to have not accepted this position, because at the time, nobody knew that there was something untoward that had happened. And in as far as she's concerned, there is nothing wrong that she has done, but of course, this is yet to be proved in court. Ideally, you are right. If I know that I've done something wrong, my conscience should tell me that I must not accept any nomination or any appointment, because I know at some point, whatever is secret for now will surface, and then that is going to come back to haunt me. So you have a point on that one. I would fully agree with you.
But this allegation actually dates back to 2020, but let's leave it there. We understand that prosecutors reached a deal with someone who, the person who brought forth these allegations and, and also involved in this case. What does that say about the strength of the case against her?
What normally happens is that if you know that you are in the wrong and I'm also in the wrong, and the two of us were accomplices in crime, I would then want to better my situation by turning state witness. And this is exactly what has happened. The person who allegedly gave these monies to the speaker is the one who has now become the state witness and is therefore divulging all the secrets that were there. But of course, we'll hear on the 4th of June when the case is heard. As things stand right now, that is the person the state is counting on, that the person is going to give them all the information that they need. You do that in mitigation of your own sentence. You admit that you were in the wrong, but then you want to lessen the verdict that might come against you. So that is what has happened.
And what does this mean generally for the ANC? We've seen all of the challenges or court cases against the former President Jacob Zuma. This is perhaps one of the second case that the ANC is having for one of its public officials, very notable public official. What does this mean for that party and what it represents to the South African people at this moment?
The critics of the ANC will feel vindicated because they've been saying that the governing party is full of people who are involved in corrupt activities. So on that score, they will be vindicated. But then those who are looking at the ANC from a positive light, they will say the former Minister of Health, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, was implicated in wrongdoing, and he voluntarily resigned even before he could appear before the Integrity Committee of the party, which is something positive. This time around, the same thing has happened. The Speaker of the National Assembly, who comes from the ANC, is being implicated in wrongdoing, and she has voluntarily resigned. So those who are looking at it from the positive side will say the ANC has done the right thing. But generally speaking, on an election year, definitely, all other opposition parties will be using this to strengthen their case that they've been correct all along in saying that there are many people with corrupt activities within the governing party, and they will use this as one of many cases which they will cite during the campaigns on the build-up to the 29 May general election.
Well, following this case, and we'll see how it plays out. Thank you so much for talking to us. Director, Center for the Advancement of Non-Racialism and Democracy at the Nelson Mandela University, Professor Begi Mgomezulu.